Hey, Autoimmune Warriors, welcome to the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast. I am so fired up for you to be here. If you're navigating life with an autoimmune condition, you're in the right place. I am your host, Des, and I am not just a podcaster. I am right here in the trenches with you as a fellow autoimmune warrior. We're diving into real, uplifting stories and some seriously smart expert tips and simple lifestyle tweaks that can make a difference in how we feel day to day. Now I've got to give a huge shout out to my amazing listeners. You're the heartbeat of this podcast, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in. If you're loving the vibes, here is how you can keep the love flowing. Drop a rating on Spotify, share a quick review on Apple, or pass this episode along to a warrior buddy who can use a boost of hope. Here are some patients that are killing it for our community. Workers with Autoimmune Ailments Alliance. These folks are fighting the good fight for students and workers like us with autoimmune conditions. Want to get involved or learn more? Swing by WAAA.org. They'll love to have you. Leap Cure. They're all about hooking up patients with cutting-edge clinical trials and putting our voices front and center. Check them out at leapcure.com. Adapt Naturals by Chris Kresser. They offer nutrient-packed supplements based on science. Snag 20% off your first order with my code DEZ, D-E-Z, at Adapt Naturals. From my heart to yours, I'm sending you nothing but love and good vibes. Let's dive in together. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another empowering episode of the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to our guest, Otis Scott Jr., a trailblazer with over 30 years of senior level leadership in government, business, and nonprofits, including distinguished service in the armed forces, honored by the U.S. Congress and Texas legislators for his remarkable achievements. Scotty is a global thinker and champion of inclusion, dedicated to sparking positive change in lives everywhere. Author of the motivational guide, Stay Hungry, which draws on Maslow's hierarchy to fuel personal growth and resilience. Scotty joins us to share how we can stay driven amidst life's toughest battles, like autoimmune disease. Scotty, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Desiree, for having me here. It's an honor and a privilege to share what I've learned over time. And the good part about that is that that's one of the reasons that I wrote the book, Stay Hungry, so that I can have the opportunity to not just share it with people that I talk with here in the greater San Antonio area, but everybody throughout the world.
Yes. I want to dive in to the over 30 years you've been taking roles in government, business, nonprofits, and your service in the military. How has this diverse journey shaped your worldview of resilience and making a real difference in people's lives?
You know, it's given me the opportunity to deal with many different challenges, like you said, in many different environments, both in the military, the business world, and the academic arena. And I think that's been instrumental in helping me understand how you go about dealing with challenges that you may face. Although you may not be able to understand why you're being faced with these challenges, it's understanding how you go about facing them by having solutions already. If you have a plan A, then what happens if plan A doesn't work out? Then you have to go to plan B. And a lot of people, that's as far as they get. Well, I like to have a plan C, so it's just in case. we'll find an opportunity to make things work for us and not against us.
Yeah, a backup of the backup plan.
That's right. You know, it's kind of like there's no saying it's amazing what one can do when one does not know what is impossible.
That is true. And you traveled the world and championed inclusion initiatives. What cultural insights or moments from your career ignited your passion for driving positive change, especially those who've been sidelined by health challenges or whatever you find a barrier?
I think one of the things that really helped me understand that even better was I was fortunate enough to lead a team in Russia, actually in Uzbekistan, doing Provide Hope. And doing Provide Hope, one of the things we try to do is make sure that people had, or at least we identified where there might be deficiencies in the medical arena. And in doing so, we were able to help others by bringing in those things that they needed in order to help them with any medical challenges that they may have had. So it was an interesting adventure in and of itself. But the good part was that I found that no matter where we were, a lot of times, like now, we're looking at there's this conflict between us and Russia. Well, I had a chance to sit in a Russian's home and have dinner with them. And, it's no different from you and I sitting down to have a meal together. People want to be together and understand and appreciate each other. And that's something that we have to be able to do. And when you find that there is that passion that they have as much as you have, then what? It makes life much easier for all of us.
People are human. Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants happiness, love, connection, health, like you mentioned. And on a personal note, you talk about staying hungry in your book. And after many decades of achievements, how do you keep that hunger alive? What is fueling you?
The thing that I have to think about, it's not the years in your life, but the life in your years. So when you put it in that perspective, it's how do you go about enjoying the life that you have? And then even though you may feel like, you may have challenges, and how do you overcome those? How do you bring joy to yourself? How do you find that love that everybody looks to find, but very few actually find? How do you go about finding it? So I always say is, you have to set your goals. You have to have that grit to really get passionate about what you're going to do, because without that passion, you have nothing. So when you get up in the morning, I tell everybody, look in the mirror, smile, because hey, that's the best face you're going to see. And when you see that face, think about, hey, this is the person that I'm going to be today, and I'm going to try and make a difference for somebody else, because somebody has made a difference for me, and that's just by bringing me in this world.
I like how you say that's the best face you're going to see, which is true. You should be your own best friend. You should
That's right.
really love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, who else is going to love you?
That is so true. And I say this: by doing what you love, you inspire the hearts of others to do what they may be passionate about. So go out into the world and say, gee, I wanna make a difference today. And when you do that, you make a big difference for so many people, whether you realize it or not.
I'm very thankful that you made a book that you can help guide people. Why stay hungry? Why Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Would you walk us through those 5 levels?
Most definitely. And it starts with the very basic one, everybody needs food and shelter. And that's the basic need. If you don't have that, you don't have anything else. I mean, how are you going to elevate yourself to move that next level, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs? How are you going to be able to find that passion? How are you going to be able to self-actualize? You won't be able to. You have to be able to understand, what does it take for me to be able to meet those basic needs. And that's one of the things why I say stay hungry in the book. If you're not hungry, it's kind of like the lion. When you're in that jungle, the lion is constantly looking for food. And that lion has to find food, whether it's at the water hole or whether it's somewhere out in the jungle, in order to coexist and or to continue his or her existence. And by finding that food, they're able to move up and find satisfaction. I guarantee you, Lion's going to go and take a nap and just sit back and relax because the line is feeling better. And it's the same thing with people. As you start to move up, as you start to find that food, you start to find that shelter, as you start to find that love and appreciation, that's when you're able to realize that, yeah, maybe I can self-actualize and be that person that I really want to be and do those things that are going to bring me that happiness and that joy in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Many people with autoimmune disease are struggling to get that safety, but I want to bring hope to other people's lives. And once you get that safety, you can move on to bringing that passion, like you said, bringing that energy forward. Can you talk to us about getting off the porch and do something? And how does this mindset help battling autoimmune disease when you feel stuck? Like you said, you don't feel safe, or your self-esteem is so low and not reaching that self-actualization.
What you have to think about is what is that goal? What do I want to reach to? You can't think that this is something that, wow, they don't have a cure for right now. This is something that's affecting me in many different ways. It might be affecting me from the standpoint of my joints. It might be affecting me from the standpoint of what my skin is doing. It's my body fighting itself. So how do I help my body understand and not say cure itself, but help my body feel better so that I can go about doing those things that I need to do in order to be able to even exist as a person in our society. So what I would tell anyone is, like I just said a minute ago, never be limited by other people's imagination or what they think. You have to look at yourself and say, this is what I want to be today. Say, oh God, I'm hurting today. You have to say to yourself, God, I need to find that drive that I need to get up out of this bed and do those things, because my body is saying don't do it, but my mind is telling me I have got to do it. And the mind is stronger than anything that you might bring to the table as far as your body goes, because your body will, if the mind says do it, the body will respond accordingly.
Yeah.
So
And
that's what you have to do.
it sounds like faith is a big part of who you are, Scotty. Has it always been a big part of who you are, or tell us about that?
Yes, I was raised. My grandfather was a preacher. I had an uncle that was a preacher. I had parents that were and grandparents that were teachers. So I've always had that faith and belief that there was a greater calling, and we have to accept that calling is there for us for a reason, and that reason is to, like I said, make a difference for others. Whether you go and you mentor somebody, whether you go and you coach somebody, or whether it's the reverse where somebody is coaching or mentoring you, you have to be there. And in being there, that embodies you to do those things that's going to make a better life for you.
Right now, your role is huge in academics. And do you think the academics gives you that ability to influence the young generation to stay hungry? It's like you're taking all your lessons and your family, and you've become a teacher yourself and involved in all these academics.
One of the things in our academic environment is to have that person have that desire to be great and to do those things that are going to make a difference for our society, and not just teach them the rudimentary stuff, reading, writing, arithmetic. Yeah, we're gonna teach them that, but find what they're passionate about and help them achieve what that dream is. And I'll give you an example. We had one young lady that said that she was concerned about light pollution, not being able to see the stars at night. We have that in society to where, people want to be able to enjoy the heavens. And when you have light all over the place, these huge malls and street lights and things like it lights up things and you can't enjoy those things. But that was just her passion. And then I have other students that and I can give you a great example. They did a presentation of this is what the present is, this is what the past was, and this is what the future is going to be. And they kind of took you through it. They took you. They said, okay, we're gonna put you on this elevator. We're gonna beam you up to what the future is going to look like. And that's what we want to do. We want people to be imaginative. We want them to be passionate about it. We want them to find joy in it. And the good part about that is that when you find that joy and that passion, you're going to be able to pass that on. You're going to be able to pass that on to others. And that's the wonderful thing about life. I love the youth because they are so passionate. There is nothing that is impossible to them. As we go older, all of a sudden we start putting these walls up around us or these limits. And especially if your body is saying, your own body is fighting you, how can you go about building something and say, no, this is not going to be something that's going to stop me from doing what I need to do, become a better person, helping society become a better place to live, and helping our world be a better place for all of us.
I love that. Yes, and I could attest working with young people. They do have that passion and nothing's off limits. And I wish that as we got older, we kept that imagination and that limitless ability. With your book, you talk about different strategies. Can you talk about one or two strategies that may help people that have autoimmune disease or facing chronic health issues?
I would say, one, find that group. You're not the only person that has this autoimmune. Look for others, groups or organizations that can help you overcome what you're facing. And by making those connections, you can help others. And by helping others, you're going to help yourself. Find someone that can be your coach. Or on the other side of that, how can you be a coach for somebody? Think about all the young children that are in this world that you could possibly help if you would just take the time to get out of bed.
That's true. That is very true. And going back to your experiences, what is one of Maslow's principles that helped you push through and survive yourself?
I think, one of the things that, in looking at, Maslow's theories, I think the military actually met, some of my needs, that thing for food and shelter. Well, the military is going to provide that. So I was happy. But then what about how do I raise that to the next level of, belonging and feeling a part of it? That's where you find people that are gonna help you and help you grow as an individual. You have that person that's gonna help guide you and point you in the right direction. I'll give you a prime example. I was young and dumb at the time. I'm gonna be real honest here. When I went in the military, I'm gonna go fight for my country. I'm gonna be willing to die for my country. And I had this sergeant pulled me aside and he said, "Young man, come here. Aaron, let me tell you something. You make the other person make the ultimate sacrifice for their country, and you come back from that." And I said, "Oh, okay." Light bulb comes on. But in that process, it helped me grow and do those things. Like nothing is given to you. I had to challenge myself. One of the things I learned is that you need to reach back and pull up others. You can't just go down this road, by yourself. Always have in mind that you're training or you're developing that next person for the position that you're eventually going to rise through. When in Maslow's theories, you tend to grow and you tend to build on each step. And in doing so, that helps you finally reach that ultimate level of self-actualization.
Yeah. Would you say you have self-actualization yet?
In some respects, I have, because I've had an opportunity to help others. The writing the book helped me do that. And the careers and opportunities I've had a chance to be a part of and helping develop, others along the way. I've seen things that most people probably never want to see in their life. For instance, I'll give you an example. One plane crashed while I was in Europe. And when you have to go out and pick up body parts and you have to go out and do those things that no one should ever have to do, you have a greater appreciation for life. And seeing those things, you realize that when it comes to you being here on this earth, you're only a microcosm of the bigger universe. So you have to make the most of the time that you have here in order to grow, to help others, and to be able to make a difference in the world that we live in.
What would you say for listeners who won't be grasping with the isolation, like you said, or the pain? What's one exercise you would say from Stay Hungry you recommend to reignite that motivation to get out of that funk, I guess you can say, from your book?
I would say find somebody that you can find joy with. I found that understanding others, and I'll give you another example here. While I was in the DC area, we had a chance to bring two Russian young ladies over to spend time with us, and I had a chance to send my daughter over to Russia to spend time there. And in doing so, they found a greater appreciation for the things that we have here. And my daughter, in going over, she had a chance to see that there are things in life that other people do not have. And I'll say this, when she got off the plane, she was ready to kiss the ground because she realized that there are opportunities here that we take for granted, and that others they don't have those opportunities. And if we can be better at what we do and help other people understand those things that we take for granted, then maybe we can make a difference in other people's lives.
Yeah, I truly believe so. And the last question is drawing from Mark Twain's quote: "The secret to getting ahead is getting started." How can someone listening today is feeling overwhelmed by their condition take that first small step towards fulfillment?
I'm thinking about in reference to the astronauts when they first stepped foot on the moon. They said something to the effect, one small step, but one giant step for mankind. And that step that they made was one that we never thought that we would be able to do that. That's the same thing as if you're laying in the bed and you think you're never going to be able to get out. Guess what? I've got news for you. When you put that first leg out, that second leg will follow, and you'll have the opportunity to get out of that bed, to get up and say, I can tackle this, beat me. I have that opportunity to really feel better about myself, and my body knows that because I'm telling it that that's going to be better. So I was very involved in the martial arts, and in tournaments, I would go in and I would look at the other person and I would say, let's make this a great day. Let's give it a fight because you're not going to win. Because mentally, I already know what it's going to take for me to win, and I'm going to do that. And as a result, I won a regional championship and I won a national championship. And most people say, well, Scotty, how did you go about doing that or whatever? It's not so much the physical aspect, it's the mental aspect, that attitude that you have to have in order to fight off something that's trying to beat you.
I agree. Yeah, that mental part, people always forget. That's part of your health too.
Right. Exactly. So throw the covers off, put that one foot out there, get both legs out, stand up and say, I'm here. Guide me, give me strength, and let me be the person that you know that I can be.
Amen. Anything that you want to share about who you are, because you've lived such a great life, that can help others, or you have the opportunity to talk to so many people right now, what would you advise?
I would say never lose the passion that you have in life. You know, find joy in what you want to do, but think about others as you do that, because you can't be limited by other people's imagination. Have a vision of excellence, a dream of success, and work like hell to get there.
Yes. Thank you so much. And to find Scotty's book, go on Amazon, and to find Scotty, I guess go to LinkedIn or where else.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. He's very active everywhere. I can't keep up with Scotty myself. Thank you so much for your time.